Hello students, this is Biólogo Manolo and welcome to our Biology 2 class. This time we will explain topic number 5, respiratory system. And our guests for this explanation are the human mermaids from the Animal Planet channel. We have very important information to share about them. So let's start. The respiratory system, guys, has two portions. The first one is the conductive portion and the second one, the gas exchange portion. And let's check each one of them. For the conductive portion, we have first our nasal cavity with two nostrils, of course, and it is the entrance of air into our body, the first entrance of air into our body. Then we have the pharynx. Pharynx is located here just behind the tongue, and it's a tube coated with a mucus layer responsible for blocking some dust or microorganisms to enter our respiratory system. Next, we have the larynx. Larynx is protected by an epiglottis. The epiglottis is a fold of tissue which acts like a valve which opens and closes to impede the pass-through of food into the respiratory system. The larynx also contains these special structures called the vocal cords. Here we have a closed one, and this one is open. Vocal cords are responsible to vibrate and producing our voice. Then we have the windpipe or trachea, which is a flexible tube. It is reinforced with bands of cartilage to give it structure, and it is divided into two branches called the bronchi. The bronchi each directs to a particular lung, and they are divided in numerous branches called the bronchioles. The bronchioles allow air to reach the whole lung tissue. Then we have the gas exchange portion, which includes the lungs, of course, and the lungs are formed by tiny little bags called the alveoli, these ones over here. The alveoli are very important structure in the respiratory system because they are responsible for the gas exchange process, which we will explain a little bit later. Human lungs, guys, have evolved to get a very extensive wet surface for gas exchange. Then the gas exchange process, as you might remember from our previous lessons, is that the air has oxygen. Our oxygen is captured by our lungs, and it is exchanged in the alveoli for the CO2. The CO2 will be exhaled, and then the whole cycle or process will be repeated. But let's check some other information, and I hope this will be more clear for you. Oh, stop. The mermaid is telling us to stop because it has important information to share. And that information is, guys, mermaids do not exist. Sorry to disappoint you. This guy over here, his name is Charlie Foley. He is vice president for the Animal Planet channel, and in an interview he gave to CNN, he said that mermaids do not exist. So sorry to disappoint you. Let's continue. The only way, guys, you might be close to a mermaid is going to a aquarium, like this guy over here in the aquarium at Sao Paulo, Brazil. So, the respiratory process. The respiratory process has two stages. First, inhalation and then exhalation. Inhalation is when air is introduced actively into our lungs, and exhalation when the same air is expelled passively out of the lungs. This process, guys, is possible thanks to a muscle located over here in the inferior limit of our thoracic cavity called the diaphragm. This diaphragm will contract and relax, and when it's contracted together with the intercostal and abdominal muscles, they produce a movement to the inferior part of our body, enabling lungs to get filled with air, and then when all the muscles relax, the air is expelled in the exhalation stage. Okay, so to further explain this process, guys, you can use this chart over here. First you have air is inhaled, it enters through our nasal cavity, sometimes through our mouth, it goes to our pharynx, then to our larynx. Our larynx has the vocal cords, which vibrate because of the air exhaled and produce our voice. Then, after the larynx, we have the windpipe, the bronchi, we have a left and a right one, then the bronchioles, numerous branches, then the lungs, and finally the alveoli, where this gas exchange process takes place. The oxygen is captured, the CO2 is eliminated, and remember, guys, this CO2 comes from the waste or residual products of our cellular metabolism. Again, the CO2 is exhaled and expelled to the air, and then the cycle can begin over and over again. For the anatomy of the respiratory system, guys, I just want you to take a close look to the alveoli. Alveoli are surrounded by capillary vessels, and they form a very particular structure. Together, the alveoli with this kind of a net of the capillary vessels, and in here the capillary vessel is united to the alveoli, and in the space between them blood flows, and the blood leaves CO2, and the CO2 is received in the space inside the alveoli, where the oxygen is diffused to the blood, and it's joined to the hemoglobin in erythrocytes, and then the blood is pumped to the heart and then to the rest of the human body. So let's continue. Now we have some diseases, guys. Unfortunately, the lung cancer. The cancer, as you know, is a controlled growth of tissue, in this case of the lung tissue, and it doesn't allow its normal function. Then we have some other diseases like the chronic bronchitis. It's a predisposition to bacterial infections in the portion between the bronchi and the lungs. And as you can see here, these guys over here, it's a bronchus. And as you can see, the space for the passing through of air is big, and when the tissue is inflamed and with a great amount of mucus secreted, the passage of air is blocked. This is bronchitis. Emphysema, another disease. In emphysema, the alveoli become brittle and break, causing the gas exchange to occur poorly, and as you can see, the damage in the alveoli tissue is so big. You can also see it in this other image over here, and the problem here is the gas exchange. It's also very problematic to occur. When we got together both diseases, that is the chronic bronchitis and the emphysema, we have a new disease called COPD. COPD is an acronym for chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and just look the way the lungs look like when we have COPD. It's terrible. It's a mortal disease, guys. Some other diseases from the respiratory system involves the infection from viruses, bacteria, or fungi. And guys, can anyone please tell this gentleman over here to cover his mouth when he sneezes? Oh, terrible. Let's continue. The common cold. The common cold is a viral disease. The type of viruses causing this disease are the rhinoviruses and the tuberculosis. This is another terrible disease in the respiratory system. It is caused by a bacteria. The name of this bacteria is Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and with this infection it is progressive, attacking the tissues of the lungs, impeding its normal function. And this disease occurs in patients with low defenses or a poor immune system. Pneumonia. Pneumonia is produced by bacteria. The bacteria are called pneumococci, and they damage the pulmonary tissue. As you can see here inside the alveoli, a great amount of liquid and mucus is formed, and the coughing is just terrible. Histoplasmosis, another infectious disease. This is caused by a fungus. The name of this fungus is Histoplasma capsulatum. And as you can see over here, we have a right lung with the disease. You can imagine it looks like a bimbo bread with mold on it. You know, that kind of image. And notice here how a healthy lung looks like. So it's a terrible disease. In order to protect us from this disease, we only have to cover our mouths using face shields when we are exposed to great amounts of feces, animal or human. Next, smoking. Smoking, a terrible habit. In the US only, every day more than 4,000 young people under 18 light their first cigarette. Under 18, guys. Does that sound familiar to you? Approximately 22% of high school students smoke, although less than 10% do it regularly. Young smokers suffer from more severe and frequent respiratory infections. Their lungs do not develop properly, and even though most students are aware of the dangerous situation involved with smoking, they think that they will quit with over time. In Mexico, the statistics says that most people begin smoking at your age, from 15 to 17, and the heart-related diseases cause a mortality of 44.9% in men and 42% in women. Terrible, guys. The cigarette has, you can see this number over here, 4,000 different substances. 200 of them are toxic and 40 of them are carcinogenic, and that is, they cause cancer. In this cartoon, you will see some of the consequences of smoking, and as you may notice, they are terrible. Please take the time and read them carefully. So the same as this information over here from the Health Ministry in Buenos Aires, Argentina, which let us know the benefits of quitting smoking and how soon we can get those benefits. Here we have some of the work you prepared previous to this explanation. What does it call your attention about the respiratory system? For Mariana, Sebastián, Cesar, and Luis, hiccups is important. For Iñaki, a new disease caused in children in the United States. Also, Marisa, Rubén, Cintia, and Verónica, as well as Carla, Luis, Gabriela, Jimena, and Alejandro, they prefer to mention some interesting facts about the respiratory system. Miriam, Lupita, Daniela, Luza, Jessica, and Miriam, they gave us a brief of the importance of the respiratory system. Itzel, Lilia, Rodrigo, Silvia, Juan Pablo, Ricardo, Guillermo, and Maximiliano, they also gave us interesting facts. And Salvador, Osana, Jorge, Cristina, Enrique, and Ana, they gave us also an interesting conclusion about the functioning of the respiratory system. Finally, Aimee, Carla, Paulette, Chatini, and Alejandra gave us some other information interesting about the respiratory system. Finally, guys, I want you all to take a deep breath, get relaxed, carry lots of oxygen to your lungs, then to your brains, and guys, go get the best results. I am Biólogo Manolo, and I will see you next class. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.